Hey guys, what's up? It's Nick again. Welcome back to Game Dev with Nick. And today we're going to be doing like a real simple shovel. We're going to keep it low poly, keep it super low vertices down here in the lower right. You got vertices 8, and that's represented by these. If we go to edit mode up here in the upper left, object mode to edit mode, you can see that here's the 8 vertices that it's talking about. And so we're just gonna dive right into it. We're gonna extend this guy up. You know what? It's gonna be symmetrical. So we're gonna actually, okay, so first we'll subdivide it. Then we'll delete all the vertices off to the right. And we'll create another mirror modifier, which is the wrench. Push the wrench button, add modifier, mirror modifier, and put it over the Y, I think, right? Yeah, the Y axis. So now everything we do to one side changes what happens on the other. And we're gonna scale this down towards the origin. We're gonna turn on, oops, I missed a couple vertices there. And I wanted to turn on clipping. If you turn on this check mark right here, clipping, then when you split them apart, they'll stay, the seam will stay together. So let's try again. Scale it down, and now they're not coming apart. We're going to scale it on the y-axis, SY. That's better. Scale it a little bit more, I think. Alright, now that I have that, I can grab the top vertices, and we can expand this up, GZ, and then drag the mouse up, and this is going to be like the handle. This is going to be a real simple shovel. We're going for kind of like a ancient Roman shovel, and they weren't long. They were kind of short, and they had this little, I'll throw an image up. So I put an edge loop down the middle because I want to make things a little bit more complex. I want to bring things out away from the center and make them more round. So I'm just selecting all these vertices. Sometimes it's tricky. Now I have them all. So now I can pull these out. I can scale these on the x-axis. So I'll scale the first one out, then I'll scale just the second one. So I think Alt-Shift-right click, or Alt-Shift-left click rather, will deselect an edge loop, which is what we wanted. And then G-X again. Oops, not GX, I'm sorry. G is translate, S, scale, X. So we'll be able to scale it out a little bit more than the other. I don't really want to get that more complicated than that at this point with the neck. So the next thing we're going to do is probably come down and start working on the blade. Although I just feel like that's rather, whatever. So we're going to deselect. We're going to work on the neck. So the neck kind of pinches in a little bit and is this like metal piece that sort of exists in its own right. So how do we want to do that? I think the first thing we should do is select these two vertices, and if we delete these two vertices, this whole face will go away. So you select the vertices and you hit X, delete vertices. Alright, now we want to create a neck, so we select this edge loop, and that's Shift Alt left click on the edge, and it kind of will automatically choose the edge loop. It's a really good shortcut. instead of me going in and clicking on all these individual edges. One reason it doesn't really look good is because this one isn't brought out like the others, so we'll amend that before we go forward. So S, Y. Right? Nope. That didn't work. That should have worked. We'll try again. Scale, Y-axis. Well, then we'll translate it then. Not sure why that didn't work. Alright, so now we select that edge loop again, and we'll, now that it's a little bit more round, we're going to extrude this. So I think E, right? Yeah. So we're going to E, and we're going to go, oops, if I hold the middle click button down, that's interesting, it locks into different directions. But that's not really what we want to do. We want to go outward. So E, and then like that. Just a little bit, because the metal clasp, oh, that didn't really work the way I wanted. E, then we'll go up. So we'll be more exact about it. We're going to go E1, Z. Then we're going to bring it down GZ, and we're going to bring it down just a little bit above the first one, and then we're going to scale it away from the origin so that it'll go out radially. Cool. Alright, now we can just go up again. Oops. E, Z. So did that work? Yeah, it kind of worked. See that? Created a little lip. That was the intention of that. Alright, now we want to build the blade. So, I'm trying to remember what a shovel is like. So I'm imagining the blade's going to come down on either side like this. So probably these go, we should do them differently. We should bring these all out differently. So we're going to just extrude these three on the Z-axis. And I think, let's see, we're going to need to manually move these around. This one, well, we'll pull them all in. Something like that, but this one has to go out back the other way. Whoops. GX. I think that's kind of what the top of a shovel might look like. Maybe bring these in a little more. GX. Alright, so now the other parts, let's see, I think, well, we're just doing one side because the other side's going to be symmetrical and be able to mimic the other. So now, I guess what we want to do is get this blade out this way. But it's done in a way that's really flat, which is interesting. So we're going to have to do that. I think the best thing to do might be extrude out just this point, and you can do that. So if I want to extrude this out on the green or the y-axis, I go E, Y, and I can just pull out one line as opposed to a face, like we did over here a second ago. So it goes out pretty far, so like there. Yep, that's looking pretty good. Probably should be looking from this perspective. So changing around your perspectives is really important in Blender, and what I do is I just use middle click and shift middle click, basically. So middle click moves you around like that, and then shift middle click pans you around like that. If you use those in concert, you can get real close up on anything you want. And you really only need to use those two. There's other ways. People use the numpad keys. This is one. That's a good way, learning the numpad stuff. Oh god, sometimes you can change it to like orthogonal or something, and I don't really know what all that means. So one thing about this though is that it's not out here, it's more over here. So we're gonna bring GX along the x-axis, bring it over here. Also, I kind of want to subdivide it, but let's build it out more simply first, and then we'll end up cutting this up into two. So this is tricky. Well, I want to bring this up and around, so probably maybe the best thing to do is just E, Z, or whoops, E. You can freestyle it like that, but I just find I get myself into a lot of trouble doing that. Just kind of, I need to remind myself about the scale we're working on to be able to build it correctly. It seems like, you know, it would be like this big and that would be normal, but then when you zoom out, it's this huge handle and this tiny spade, and we don't want that. We want a normal, you know, E, Z again. We're going to bring one out, then we're going to bring this one in, G, Y. Sort of more like that. Bring both of these in now, G, Y. Yeah, that's kind of looking more like what I envisioned. I think at this point we should add, you know, they really did even have a curved, some of the shovels are just flat and others are curved. I'm trying to make a curved one though, like something that like a soldier would have kept on them. Wood and just a metal, sort of basically like a modern shovel, to be honest. I'm just making a modern shovel. The Romans just pretty much already perfected the shovel. The legions did. The peasants, I'm sure, had ridiculously incompetent shovels. Easy. But once you start playing with GY, metallurgy, I don't know what I want to do here. I guess bring it all the way in. So long as clipping's on, these will be unified now. It's a little too much of a piercing blade though, so we're going to bring it back down. Dull it out. Alright, now I want to build the back. So I think the way to go about... weird. Is there not a vertex there anymore? It's the first time that's ever happened to me. That's so strange. Oh no! It's because I'm working on the part that is built automatically, because it's symmetrical. So we're going to make a line here by hitting the F key. Then we're going to connect this one to, I think this one is the appropriate one, and then this one to this one. Then we're going to, let's see what else. I want to make this a triangle rather than a, it'll happen anyway kind of, but I want to actually do it myself. That looks good. I think we should go ahead and fill those in. One thing, we should move this one up. And it's still not really looking like a shovel. Bear with me. It'll start to look like a shovel, I swear. One thing to be mindful though of is you don't want to let your vertex count get out of control. So I'm going to periodically go down and check here in my lower right, and I'm at 51, which is good. When I start hitting 400 and stuff, I'm going to be like, did I really need to use that many vertices for a shovel? Probably not. Probably I should make it more simple. Unless you're, but if you're doing like a, you know, like a film or like computer graphics for a movie or something, then this isn't really as important. You want to use like an absurd amount of vertices, because as you render it out, you can use as much time as you want to render it. Well, within reason. Anyway, there's my spade. And if you have used a shovel a lot like me, you know There's sort of a thing that comes down here and unifies with the spade. So we're going to be doing that. But looking at it, it looks like the bottom part is just way too it's too fat. We need to skinny it up a little bit. So that's what we're going to do. So that means we have to, this is like another example of why you should try to get the basic shape correct from the get-go. But if you hit the C button, it's really handy Vertex Grabber. It's a circle, and if you use the scroll wheel, you can expand and decrease the circle. So that's kind of perfect for this. So we're just going to grab all these vertices here. I think that's thing, if I'm not mistaken. Cool. Okay, so now we want to grab this edge loop as well. Alt, Shift, left click. Did that work? No. It kind of worked though. We'll come in and we'll finish up. Oh, interesting. It went up and around. So that was the... In this case, selecting that edge loop didn't really work because the edge loop had been ripped apart and I added stuff and it wasn't really an edge loop anymore. So, but now we got it. Now we know that we can shrink this. So what we're going to do is we're going to translate it in on the y-axis, GY. That's the first thing. Ooh. I already know what's wrong, so I missed a couple. But really, I think, actually, no, I made a mistake earlier when I was extruding. That's what happened. So what we're going to do is we're going to select this, and we got to clean that up, basically. Actually, weirdly, that's kind of what I wanted in the first place. The shovel kind of goes in a little bit, and then it pops back out. So weirdly, we kind of did what we wanted. Yeah, I think that's, yeah, I'm feeling good about that. I can't do that same trick that I did where I pulled it in on the y-axis. What exactly do I want to do here? Yeah, it's not quite right. We need to do the right thing. So we're going to GZ to move it up. Then we're going to take just this one. And and that's Alt Shift left click again, if you didn't remember. We're going to pull that one in. So S, let's see if we can just scale it on the, I tried this before, scale on the Y. Yeah, I think that's what we want. And we're, how many, back into edit mode, just want to look at how many vertices we're using. 51. Very cool. So let's go ahead and finish her up. Very close to being done. Very simple shovel. I want to keep it, I'm hoping to keep it under 100 vertices, but we might need to flesh that out a little bit. And this would be good for like a mobile game. Another good reason to keep your vertice count pretty low. So one thing that, just from like my experience of doing this, is sometimes I'll be like, well, this is the blade of the shovel, and I'm done. You know, but really what's going to happen is when you go into painting it and putting on textures, it's going to be tricky, because what you really want is you want it to be like a shell, and you paint the outer part of the shell. And so if part of your outer part of your shell is missing, you'll start painting the inner part of the shell. Like if it's an egg shell, you know, you want to keep it painting on the outside of the eggshell. So it's better to go in with this side and fuse it up. So we're going to do that right now. It won't be that bad. Let's see, we're going to extrude this, I think. Extrude it on the Z axis, pull it up, then we're just going to pull it in on the, what is it, GX, pull it in on the X axis. And that's pretty close. I think we're good. We're going to connect these. Actually, you know what? I'm going to show you guys another trick right now. We want these to be, at this point, on the same line and not jagged like this. So we can select them all, and this is why it's important to keep things, when you build an object in alignment with these axes, is because you can do tricks like this. We're gonna do a trick to make them all line up with the y-axis. I can't remember exactly how to do it. I think it's, you have to scale it, and then you hit 0, or you hit the axis first, and I believe it's the x-axis actually. You hit 0. See that? So I was able to straighten these lines like that. It's a cool trick. Okay, let's finish her up. Bow, down, and bow. That looks good. And let's make faces. So that's the F key again. You just select your vertices, F key, and so now you can see I've kind of made this concave down into the shovel, but the shovel has a little notch here, which I wanted to kind of preserve. So we did that. Now I believe we can connect these two without an issue. We can make a face out of that. And it's kind of tricky to do this a little bit. I make mistakes sometimes. That's right. You know, you're going to make mistakes. Mistakes are how you learn. So it's only our obsession with being the best that makes us think mistakes are bad things. But once you get over your obsession, with needing to be the best, you'll realize mistakes are valuable. There we go, that's what I wanted. Alright, so how do we want to do this? This part's the tricky part, because we want to bring it in. You know, I think what we're going to do is we're just going to complete this face, this triangle. I'm trying to keep it triangles, but if you make a face with 4, the Blender basically just breaks it up into two triangles for you, just to make it easier for you. But it can get weird though for textures, because sometimes like one of the triangles will be flipped the other way, and you won't understand why there's a hole in your model. Alright, let's finish her up. So we got our blade. Do we get it, you guys? I think that might be... Nope, there's still this one. One more. Mistakes are just happy accidents, like what Bob Ross says. Do you see? Alright, so there's some problems with the shovel already that I can see. One thing, looking at it scale-wise, this is still too... Oh, I never skinnied the handle, so we'll do that. We'll skinny the handle, but let's fix the blade a little bit. I want to maybe bring this out on the y-axis a little bit. Which means I want to bring this one out on the y-axis too. Which means I want to bring these up. Really, I just wanted to make the shovel spade larger. I want to bring this back on the x-axis though too, which is a little weird. And as we do it there, it happens on the other side, just to save time, you know? And to keep, if you'll really get screwed up. Like most things in nature aren't even on both sides, so you'll be, editing individually. When you're ready, it's just a matter of clicking this apply button. So maybe you want to make a rock, and you want to make it easy and on yourself and make it uniform, and when you tweak this side, you want to tweak this side, but then you want, after it's an oval, you want to get more detailed with it, then you just hit the apply button and all of these other vertices show up. But if we hit the apply button, we can't go backwards. I think we can immediately if we hit Control Z, but like after a while you won't be able to do that. Alright, a couple things. I need to bring this one in. So we're just tightening things up a little bit, making things look a little better. I want to bring this one, both of these in, G, Y. I want to bring specifically only this one in even more. I want to bring this one kind of in towards this way. So we're going to do that in 2 ways, GX and then GY. Very good. That's looking better. Alrighty, cool. Awesome. Let's render it. Oh, you know what? Before we forget, let's select all these edge loops, and hopefully that'll work real quick. Oh, almost worked with that one. I was hoping it would, but not that time. But that's looking okay. And then if we hold Shift and middle click and go pull it up, it's just an easy way of kind of getting in there and seeing what you want to see. Make sure you hold your Shift key down while you're holding them all, so you don't lose your progress selecting the vertices you want. So that's a little bit tricky what I just did. So that's why it's good to get the dimensions right first. And then I'm going to have to go back and fix some of these too, but that's okay. So GY to pull it in. We don't want to do it too much though. And then we scrunched up a couple ones that we didn't want to scrunch up, so you can do SY, and you can fix the scrunchy. See what I'm saying? So if you, oops, we just added a lot of vertices right there. There's already over 100 though. If you look, I undid it, but I could probably get rid of these. Anyway, so we scaled it in that direction. Now we want to scale it in the other direction, but I unselected them. So I want to reselect them. I just did Control Z to undo the unselection, if that makes sense. And in this case, we want to scale it. Oh no, scale on the x-axis. Oh yeah, we can pull that in quite a bit. I think that'll look good. Yep, that looks pretty good. You know what? I think I pulled it in a little too much. So SX, yep. Scale on the S-axis, right about there. Okay, so now that's actually starting to look more like a real, honest to goodness, good old-fashioned, literally old-fashioned Roman shovel. We can make the back look better by bringing in. Okay. So we could add complexity to this and bring in some more vertices and make the back of the shovel look better. But I don't know if it's worth it. You know, I think people don't care really. I mean, they do. The more photorealistic, the better. But at the same time, not at the expense of performance. It's a balancing act. So I'm just trying to keep things tight, and we're going to keep things simple at first. And if I want to go back, I can save this file and be like, you know what, I wanted to add complexity to my model. And if you can model, then if you're trying to code a game, you can go and you can control what the shovel looks like. If you're not stoked about the shovel that your modeler gave you, I'm trying to round out the bottom here. That's the point of that. All right, cool. And that was with no vertices lost. That I was able to do that, which is good. So we want to render that again. I don't even know if I can see the bottom. Yeah, it looks a little better. So really simple vertex-wise. If I wanted to make it look better, I would spend more time on this part of the blade. See? But I don't think at this point I do. We're done. We've made our shovel because it's that 30-minute mark. Thanks so much, you guys. This is Game Dev with Nick. If you enjoyed it and you want more, make sure you hit that thumbs button and the subscribe button. And peace and love, y'all. Thank you so much.